All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join us. And as always, we welcome any suggestions, feedback, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. Before we get started, I want to tell all of you thank you for your tremendous support. People are slowly but surely finding out about who we are and what we do. They enjoy and respect the passion with which we speak. But as you always say here at Chin Check Sports Radio, we do this because we love it, as I simply sharing our passion with you all as we continue to build our listening army to take over the world. Before we get started on our review of the big fight this past weekend between Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, we want to say rest in peace to former two-division world champion Ricky the Hitman Hatton that was found dead in England. Definitely Hatton was one of the most action-packed fighters of the late 90s and the early 2000s. Definitely is one of those fighters who definitely came to bring it, holding championships in the light welterweight division, 140 pounds, and the welterweight division, 147 pounds. Had a ring career record of 48 total fights, 45 wins, 32 big wins by knockout, and 3 losses. Ricky the Hitman Hatton was inducted in the Boxing Hall of Fame back in 2024, and we did see his plaque up when we visited the Boxing Hall of Fame. But definitely some notable fights in the career of the late Ricky Hatton. Folks, I need for you to understand the caliber of guys he beat. So we're going to pick up a fight from June 5th, 2005, when he beat 140-pound champion, or the light welterweight champion, Costa Tszyu. Now, Costa Tszyu is the father of current contender Tim Tszyu. Now, Costa Tszyu, folks, was a guy who was at that time won a championship in 98, 99, and held that title consistently until 2005. And really, when he first won, and of course, this is boxing with the super champions and this champion and this title holder, but winning the WBC championship actually knocked out Zab Judah in 2001 to unify the 140-pound championship. So if you ever see the meme or the video of Zab Judah getting knocked down and falling back up, of getting knocked down, standing back up, and immediately falling back down again, it was that fight against Costa Tszyu. And Tszyu also held wins over Julio Cesar Chavez. So Ricky Hatton to fight Costa Tszyu, and the fight was in England. And go back and watch that fight. That was actually a very underrated classic. I mean, he took the fight to Costa Tszyu, and this Costa Tszyu that had knockout power, brilliant amateur boxer. Costa Tszyu, he also held an amateur victory over the late Vernon Forrest. And Ricky Hatton just took it to Costa Tszyu. I mean, just beat him to the point where Tszyu could not come out of his corner in the 11th round. So that was really the fight that put Ricky Hatton on the map. He also had wins over Ben Taki, who was one of those tough fringe contenders, Vince Phillips. So the 140-pound division had a lot of tough fighters. In November of 2005, a KO in the 9th round against one Carlos Mausa. Now, Carlos Mausa, if anybody remember his fighting style, was a fighter from Colombia, had a very weird, herky-jerky, very unorthodox fighting style, but he beat up, at that time, highly regarded contender, one Vivian Harris, and pretty much knocked Harris out. So that was another quality win at the time. May of 2006, a unanimous decision win against Luis Collazo. Now, what's funny, if you watch that fight, that was a very competitive fight. Some would argue they might have given the decision to Collazo. That was a fight where I think that Ricky Hatton, with his overly aggressive style, he kind of got exposed a little bit. He was hit a lot coming in, but he ended up prevailing in that fight. January of 2007, a unanimous decision victory over Juan Urango. June of 2007, a KO in the 4th round with a brutal body shot against Jose Luis Castillo. If you heard that name before, that name was a review of we just did with him and the late Diego Chico Corrales, and possibly the greatest fight ever, the fight of the year in 2005. And please go back and check out the review that we did on his 20th anniversary. December 8th, 2007, a TKO in the 10th round against Floyd Mayweather Jr. This is Floyd Mayweather after his mega fight against Oscar De La Hoya that really put him in the minds of the mainstream boxing fans. and this was another very competitive fight, both undefeated champion. And Floyd definitely showed his boxing mettle. I mean, I'm talking about Floyd was absolutely brilliant in this fight. And the same strategy that Collazo had, Floyd used it against Ricky Hatton. He was catching him coming in. And probably the moment of the fight when Floyd Mayweather landed a check hook and he catches Ricky Hatton flush in the face, and Ricky Hatton slams right into the ring post. I mean, face first, falls down. And I mean, definitely a brilliant display by Floyd Mayweather. In May of 2008, unanimous decision win over Juan Lozano. November of 2008, a TKO in the 11th round against Showtime boxer Paulie Malignaggi. In May of 2009, probably his last notable fight, a KO in the second round against Manny Pacquiao. Well, no, a KO loss. And actually one of the most brutal, actually probably the knockout of the year in 2009 against one Manny Pacquiao, who was making his ascent and rise to take over the boxing world. So definitely hadn't had a full career. Again, a boxing Hall of Famer, won titles at 140 pounds. You can make an argument was unified champion because he was a man who definitely beat the man. Won titles at 147, but of course ran into Floyd Mayweather. So definitely want to say to the champ, Ricky Hatton, definitely champ, you definitely rest in peace. Definitely gave us a lot of great moments, and definitely maybe do some sparring in the big ring in the sky. Now, on to our review for the Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez fight. And definitely was everything that we hoped for. We're going to look at it from a different perspective than other people, but definitely a good fight, great fight. Definitely when you want to see boxing at its highest level, I think you saw boxing at its highest level. This is why we love the sport of boxing. When you see two top guys in the ring against one another, and you see the skills, you see the change of strategy. You know, you see them maybe changing the trajectory of a punch just a little bit so it can land. Seeing the anticipation, working in milliseconds, dodging the punch, covering up, fast reflexes, beautiful footwork. That, folks, is the beauty of boxing. This is why when people ask us, why don't you ever do these reviews on the Jake Paul fights and all these other farces? Because, folks, those are farces. Those are jokes. What we saw in that ring Saturday night, that is boxing at its best. Two guys in there matching wits, matching skills, making adjustments, having strategy, and that's what it's about. So we respect both fighters. Now, we knew how the boxing public was going to be. We said this even in our preview. If one fighter wins, don't start that nonsense that the other fighter sucks, it was overrated, and he was exposed. We don't go by that. We respect fighters who fight. We respect fighters who take risks. If you listen to modern day boxing fans, they would have told you that when Muhammad Ali lost to Joe Louis March 8th of 1971, that Muhammad Ali was overrated. If you listen to boxing fans now, when George Foreman, who was a heavy favorite going into that fight against Muhammad Ali, when Ali beat him, y'all would have said that George Foreman was overrated. Let's go back when Muhammad Ali fought, when Cassius Clay fought Sonny Liston. Sonny Liston was a heavy favorite going into that fight. If you let people tell that story, that when Cassius Clay beat Sonny Liston, that Sonny Liston was overrated. If you go back to Roberto Duran, who moved up 2 weight classes to fight Sugar Ray Leonard, if you would have said, and when Duran beat Ray Leonard, y'all would have said that Ray Leonard was overrated. So we definitely don't want to get, Ray Leonard versus Thomas the Hitman Hearns. You would have said that Thomas Hearns is overrated. When Ray Leonard beat Marvin Hagler, would you said that Marvin Hagler was overrated and was exposed? No, you wouldn't. So listen to modern day boxing fans. Just don't even get into it. You got people all on social media just talking nonsense. So this fight, we said that history was on Bud's side. We said the advantages that Bud would have about being a boxer and the advantages that Canelo would have being a naturally larger opponent. And folks, when you listen to social media, they will tell you that Bud just dominated the whole fight. Just beat the brakes off of Canelo. Canelo offered up no resistance or anything like that. And that's not true. And this is what we did. Like the world, we watched the fight, obviously in real time. But of course, before we now look at it as a fight analyst, as a fan analyst, I should say, We went back and we watched the fight again. Take all the way the excitement and the pageantry. Let's really watch the boxing match. And what we started noticing was it was a very close fight. A very close fight where, Bud would take some initiative and then Canelo would take some initiative. Or Canelo would take some initiative and Bud would respond right back. You would have Bud with the lighter, showier punches while Canelo had the harder, stiffer shots to the body. So it was depending on how you scored the fight. And from what I'm understanding, some of the judges, I think maybe one judge might have had the fight tied going into the last round. So those things can happen, but listening to social media will tell you that Bud just dominated the fight, and that wasn't the case. Was he a winner? Yes. But just say he just totally just outclassed Canelo, that's just not true. Could some people score that fight a draw? I can see that as well. So, going into round one. Round one was a very even round. They came out, Canelo landed a few body shots here and there. Bud landed maybe a few quick shots here and there. Nobody really took that much initiative. So to me, we kind of scored that round even. Both guys kind of got their offense off. It was definitely a feeling out round. We know how Bud is in the first round. Even though we thought he kind of came out very aggressive, believe it or not, trying to establish, his physical presence. But we didn't think the offense was really much, but we scored that first round even. Round two, round three, we gave those rounds to Bud Crawford. We thought Bud definitely took more initiative, landed some good shots. We felt that Canelo just quite frankly didn't do enough. And we thought that Bud showing ring generalship, and definitely boxing. We gave rounds 2 and 3 to Bud Crawford. Rounds 4 and 5, we gave those to Canelo Alvarez because Canelo had some early success. He had some early combinations, and we thought that Canelo definitely did enough to stem Bud's tide. So when Bud took those 2-3 rounds, we felt that Canelo did enough to win the 4th round. In the 5th round, we gave that to Canelo Alvarez because, again, solid hooks, definitely some body punches. Now, unlike other fight fans, we actually score body punches. We actually score them because that is a part of boxing. I know people, especially that's a fundamental thing that's lost in boxing. If you look at fighters now, everybody's headhunting. It's kind of a rarity, and it's a thing to see when guys actually are body punchers and they attack the body. But we actually scored a lot of a lot of Canelo's body punches where, it might have been jabbing, which is what Bud was doing. And we thought that Bud boxed beautifully, moving, not standing still. But definitely gave the 5th round to Canelo Alvarez. The 6th round, we gave that to Bud Crawford based on an early flurry. And he also landed a beautiful straight left as Canelo Alvarez was coming in. So that was one of the rounds that it appeared that Crawford was starting to seize control of the fight by definitely boxing beautifully and stuff like that. Believe it or not, we gave rounds 7 and 8 to Canelo Alvarez. We thought Alvarez just did a little bit more than Bud. If anything, the 8th round was maybe Canelo's definite round to actually win that one. Because again, landing his shots where it seemed that Bud kind of maybe slowed down and Canelo made his adjustments. So kind of seeing what Bud was doing and definitely made his adjustments. Round 9. We lean towards Crawford in round 9, but you can score that round even as well. Why is that? Another very competitive round. Guys, they're going at each other. It's one of those rounds where, where Bud got in some offense and Canelo got in some offense, and vice versa. So even though we lean towards giving that round to Crawford, but you could have scored that round even. We scored round 10 to Canelo Alvarez. We thought again, seizing back the momentum of the fight, landing harder punches. In some cases we're standing there toe-to-toe with each other, so we gave round 10 to Canelo. What really pulled Bud Crawford ahead was rounds 11 and 12. We gave both those rounds to Bud Crawford, landing more solid, cleaner punches. You definitely could tell that he was starting to pull away. He definitely was taking advantage of the fight going into the last round. Even his trainer, Brian Bomack, was telling him, well, we don't think he's ahead, but you got to finish up strong and stuff like that. So I think even the corner knew that he could have been comfortably ahead. Versus Canelo Alvarez's trainer, Del Reynoso, the son, was telling him, hey, man, you're going to have to do something and stuff like that. So I think even they were honest to say, hey, man, you might be behind on points. So we gave 11 and 12 round to Bud Crawford. in an excellent fight. So when I'm listening to people saying that it was 10-2 and 9-3, I just don't see that. And of course, you're entitled to your opinion. But a few times you can leave comments in the comments whether you disagree or whether you agree. But definitely now, before some dumbass says, well, are you saying that Canelo won the fight? No, that's not what I'm saying. What we're saying is that Bud Crawford won the fight. That's not up for debate. What we have an issue with and what we disagree with is saying that he tore this dominated fight, in which he didn't. Now, oftentimes what happens when a guy is an underdog and he does better than what you think he's going to do, what happens is sometimes people tend to give that fight a round. I will say this again. When a fighter is an underdog and he does better than what you expected him to do, what happens is you find yourself giving that person rounds when in fact they really didn't win the round, except they did better than what you thought they were going to do. When in fact the other guy, when you look at the action, the other guy won the round, but you tend to give that round to this guy who did better than what you thought that he was going to do. Go see Sugar Ray Leonard and the Marvin Hagler fight. If you go back and watch documentaries, if you watch that fight, people were saying that they were generally nervous for Ray Leonard, and when he was doing better than what they thought he was going to do, they found themselves giving rounds to Ray Leonard by simply being in the fight. If you listen to the commentary, especially from Max Kellerman, basically he was kind of leading the charge that the fact that Bud Crawford is still in the ring is a testament to this and it's a testament to that. So it was a lot of that going on. Not saying that Max Kellerman was biased, but a lot of that, of what we're saying now is what Max Kellerman was saying. But definitely an excellent fight. This definitely what boxing needed. Definitely what boxing deserved. Both guys got a lot of money for that. Again, like, this is prize fighting. This is professional boxing. So kudos to both guys. And let me say this about Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford, for a guy with his skill set, is the most laid-back person you will ever meet. He comes across as a great guy. And a very noble gesture that he did was in the post-fight conference, coming outward and giving the belts back to Canelo Alvarez. Now, for people who don't know, when there's a fight in the ring and when it's a championship fight, one fighter wins. Like, you see the picture of him taking pictures of the belts, and he's standing with family and friends. He walks back to the locker room with the titles, and the deposed champion, he walks back with nothing. Well, what happens is, off camera, the losing fighter, somebody from their corner goes to that locker room, retrieves those belts, and now the champion or the new champion is given his new title belt. So that kind of happens behind the scene in boxing, but for Bud Crawford, I'll say it again, for Bud Crawford to show that kind of, I'm not going to say compassion, but that kind of sportsmanship to give the titles back as a show of respect to Canelo Alvarez, that speaks volume as to this guy's character, because who you are shows when you win and when you lose. And for Bud to do that, you have no choice but to be a Bud Crawford fan. Especially a Bud Crawford man. Even forget the professional boxer and all his skills and greatness. The fact to show that kind of sportsmanship and, quite frankly, class, tip of the hat off to Bud Crawford for that. And Bud, if this ever gets to you, man, you always had an utmost respect, and you even have, as a fighter, you have even more respect from us as a person. So all the respect in the world to Bud Crawford on that one. And a funny note, on the post-fight press conference, when Teofimo Lopez, I guess, was giving Bud his props, and Bud kind of checked him saying, are you going to sign a contract to fight my little brother, meaning Shakur Stevenson? I was hearing whispers and rumors that fight was supposed to be coming to fruition sometime maybe next year, but no formal announcement has been made. So we'll see if that fight gets made. Now, Bud's place in history, and that's what we talk about, legacy. Now, here's where, unfortunately, it kind of gets a little bit in muddy waters here. If you let people tell the story, Bud Crawford, based on this fight, should be not considered one of the top fighters of all time. Well, the problem with that is, yes, he did beat Canelo Alvarez, but he beat Canelo Alvarez, who had 2 other losses. And if you were a hardcore fight fan, you knew that Canelo Alvarez was susceptible to guys who can pure box. Okay, we knew this. But also what hurts that thing of Bud being top 5 of all time. Now, is he the best of this era? Yes, no questions asked. He's the best of this era. The problem is the era that Bud Crawford fought in, he only beat one Hall of Fame fighter, and that's Canelo Alvarez. Because Bud Crawford even said it himself, and go back online when he said that Errol Spence Jr. is not a Hall of Famer. Well, if Errol Spence Jr. is not a Hall of Famer and you only beat one Hall of Famer, that kind of does damage to the all-time thing. Now, what he did was great by moving up 2 weight classes, but we gave you plenty of fighters who moved up 2 weight classes and they actually won as well. So definitely Bud is the best fighter of this post-Mayweather era. We would definitely give him that credit. But to say top of whatever all-time, no, I can't say that because we only have one victory over a Hall of Famer. So definitely Bud Crawford, congratulations to you on that one, brother. It's all about you. You definitely deserve all your flowers, all your accolades, all your kudos, and all your respect. So until the next time, it's Chin Check Sports Radio, signing out.